You might be thinking that a weird concept for a graphic design video is dopamine, but trust me, it's very enlightening and it's also useful to you as a graphic designer. And if you don't already know what dopamine is, don't worry because you soon will. But you're also going to understand what kind of role it plays in graphic design and how to utilize it for your designs to captivate and persuade your viewers in the right ways. So firstly, what is dopamine? I'm going to very briefly going to explain exactly what it is. Dopamine is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter that your brain creates when you're stimulated by certain external forces. So for example, if you eat some chocolate cake, your brain is going to create a small amount of dopamine, and this will make you feel like a kind of happy or a kind of sense of reward. It's why people who are addicted to certain substances are so addicted to those substances. That aside, why is dopamine important in graphic design, and specifically marketing and brand design? Now the first part of today's video is social media when concerning dopamine. The dopamine release or craving can come from scrolling through social media quite simply. And in fact, social media is purposely designed visually so you can actually create a dopamine release, leaving you wanting more and more and more. All you have to do is notice the red or the orange like graphics when you post something and followers like your content. Notice how they stand out from everything else on the screen. This symbol is going to remain in your mind, and when you see it appear again and again, you're going to have a shot of dopamine straight to the brain. Now UI and UX developers who are professionals and also successful in their fields, they do know about this and they utilize it in their designs. When it comes to branding, maybe your self-brand or for a client's brand in a project, remember that things that trigger a dopamine rush tend to stick in our brains fairly easily. This is because our brains are designed to seek that reward yet again via the dopamine release. So we're going to remember that source and the characteristics and the clues of that reward experience. This means that a dose of dopamine increases the likelihood that someone's going to remember your brand, and then they're going to be motivated to invest more time, energy and money into that brand. Nike, Adidas, Coca-Cola, Apple, all of these major brands have probably got entire sectors within their business dedicated to working on how to trigger dopamine within the design campaign. It's most likely the marketing agency side of things within those companies. As you can see in this Nike advertising campaign, notice how the logo stands out as it's red compared to the grayscale design. Now this will for sure activate a dopamine response through memory of the brand. Also, the athletic and physical aesthetics of the people involved might release dopamine to certain people. So moving on to marketing, we see a similar trend. Now in content marketing, designers use information to connect with the audience. According to researchers at the UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business, information acts on the brain's dopamine's producing reward system in the same way as money or food. So in other words, your marketing content, which is a form of information, can be leveraged to tap into your customers' reward pathways. This means you should always be aware of what you're going to trigger as a dopamine response to your viewer. Now it might be a call to action button, it might be a certain illustration, or it could even be a buzzword. But you should look into including these into your marketing strategies for your graphic designs. So essentially, you need to think about your design layout and how to implement call to actions and other design elements that will create a dopamine response in your viewers. This is most important in website and UI design, But it also applies to graphic design in terms of posters, flyers, and even logo designing too. You need to make the viewer feel comfortable and happy when viewing your designs, which means applying all graphic design principles such as alignment, typography, color theory, and so forth. But the dopamine response comes from something visually speaking that appeals to the viewer and makes them want to come back for more, as well as also sticking in their minds. So that's all about dopamine and how it can be leveraged by design companies and agencies to trigger a certain feeling within the viewer. If you want to keep learning about essential design skills in Illustrator, Adobe tutorials, as well as other graphic design content, do subscribe to my channel for weekly graphic design uploads. I tend to post 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, but that does change from time to time. But yeah, of course, design your future today. Peace.